All right, everybody, it's Swisstrax day. Time to get started on putting this garage together. I've been waiting on the air conditioning and the walls to get painted and all that stuff done. We have about 1,200 square feet here that we're working on. We're gonna actually do like a full instructional series when I do my garage at my house in a few weeks. I might even do that, next week or the following. So this garage here, the lighting's so poor. We're still waiting on our Cree lighting to come here. That I think I'm just gonna roll with it the way it is and roll with the lights as they are, and then we'll just capture just some real-time footage. I'll give you some of the things that lessons I've learned. This is probably the 10th floor I've done. Of course, we've also seen lots of feedback from people as we've sold, I don't know how many floors, hundreds or 1,000 floors or something like that over the years since I've been representing this. But it is super helpful to me. If you go to obsessedgarage.com, buy it from us. We sell it at whatever their lowest pricing. It's like 15% off list or something like that, and then I eat the shipping on it. But it does help me a lot. If you go direct to them, it doesn't do anything for me. If you buy from me, then it's super helpful. So we're going to start on the doors. This one's a little different because we have 2 doors. Luckily, we don't have 3 to work with. We only have 2. So if we want the edge pieces to butt up to the door, we got to start on the doors. And I like to do the looped edge pieces. And so I just think they're a little more stable. They tend to last a little longer. But you can do looped or pegged, and we'll talk about that. So these are the pegs here. Those are the loops. Actually, that peg there, I think that's a new thing. Maybe not. So anyway, we're gonna set up the doors first. I'm gonna work off of that, and I'm gonna come this way, try to do that section, come back here and do this. I wanna get my cabinets in, is really what I wanna do. But I've got a bit of a problem, and I've got my giant tire mounting and balancing, and I have to kind of figure out. I want to keep this floor really nice. My floor next door has gotten beaten up over the years because it's sort of a hybrid warehouse and studio. This is going to be just a studio. So that's part of the reason why I've waited to do this here. We're going to cut the floor eventually, but the nice thing about Swisstrax, I can just pop the tiles up and roll. So I can take 3/4 of the floor, then we'll cut the floor, re-pour the foundation for the recessing of the scissor lift. We'll get into that. We'll obviously make videos on that as well. I plan on doing that at my house too. So there's a bit of redundancy here. I got to get moving with my life. I want to get my cabinets in, and so it's time for us to start putting this stuff together. So start with the edge pieces, lay these out. We're going to just crank through some boxes. What I'll do is once I get the floor set, I'll call all the guys in here and we'll lay this whole floor out in a few minutes. The cuts are what takes the most time. So again, start on the doors and then work your way forward. Got my microphone here. Fancy. Uh-oh, I'm gonna have to knock this down. I'm gonna put somebody here on it. The slate gray is my favorite. I think it stays looking the cleanest. I take it back. The pearls, like if you do pearl gray, ooh, they got black strapping now. It's always been white. But the pearls, I think tend to show the least amount of dirt. But I just like that matte, the matte finish of slate gray is better. Like pearl silver, pearl gray has a little bit of a sheen to it. I like the matte look. Put that next to our Harbor Gray walls. This is Benjamin Moore AC25 Harbor Gray walls that are flat. Yes, even in the garage I do flat, and then I just touch them up all the time when you bang things against the wall. And so since we're going looped, the other reason to do looped edge pieces is because we're going to work off the doors and work our way back. It's a lot easier to lay the tile on top. So if this tile's sitting on the floor, and then I'm going to lay the next tile on, it's easier to lay this way than it is to try to pick up. Like, so if I was coming from back to front with our pegs, then I would have to take my piece and I would have to lift this up in order to slide underneath. So you'll see it'll be a lot easier to snap together. And so we're going to go pegged, so pegged edge, pegged this way, and pegged that way so we can catch that door. And so we're just going to start laying a straight line across and see what we end up with. Now, when you're messing with the floor designer, if you're doing it yourself online, you don't have to worry about getting your floor exact because you just have to make sure you buy enough tiles. So when you're designing the floor,
you just have to make sure that you have enough tiles in general. And I always overestimate. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of set up my floor like that, where I seal up the bottom of my door. The only thing I'm afraid of is that if I get new doors, it might sit a little differently. Yeah, so you see if I set it there, it's right against the edge of the lip. I think that's the way to go. We'll just have to deal with weather stripping because I'm going to get new doors. I've asked for quotes, but I haven't gotten anything yet. So what I'm going to do is just kind of jam this up next to the edge, and then that's going to make sure I can lock this. So I'm going to lock the door first. The other nice effect is you can see some daylight under here. That's going to seal it up. God, this chair is going to be clutch. I've never done this on the chair before. I'm always like crawling around on my knees. So we'll just kind of keep rolling through here. This first, especially as you're figuring it out, your first few tiles are going to take you a little bit longer than the rest. But once you get rolling, you'll see. We'll slap this together in minutes. But I'm guessing this 1,200 square foot garage is going to take me probably 8 hours or so to do. I'm probably not going to do it all today, but I got to cut all the edges. Also helps if you have an assistant that can kind of lay out tiles, and one can be snapping, one can be stepping on the tiles, one can be working on one piece at a time. You can have a measurer and a cutter. So we'll address this right now in the video, today, in the beginning. The dirt. I'm telling you, I'm begging you to stop having this judgment. The dirt is what's so magical about this tile. The dirt disappears. And it's so counterintuitive, clearly counter to what most people think. Be like, well, what about all the dirt? What do you do with it? Well, it disappears, it goes into the closet. And then the nice thing is I don't have to vacuum the garage all the damn time. I can just leave the dirt under there and get it whenever I want. I'm telling you. Dirt is the best part about, oh, I'm stab myself in the leg. Dirt is the best part, dirt management is the best part about this whole thing. I'm gonna ruin my frickin' knife. I really should have, because there's still some residual drywall dust in here, you really should mop the floor, but I just don't wanna do it, so I'm not going to. I've swept it really well twice. You'll be seeing spots that you forgot to step on for like a week after you do all the tile. I don't have much of a plan how I'm gonna do my border. You try to get real cute. Usually your garage is not symmetrical. So oftentimes it's hard, like if you wanted to lay out an exact parking area, it's not super simple to do that. In fact, most of the time it doesn't really work out. So I like to recommend that you just, if you want to do some sort of contrast, just do an outline. And I beg you, we've done some weird looking floors, but I beg you to just stay simple. Don't get too cute. Make sure you don't put tiles on top of tiles, bust your head. Like if you lay this tile in there and you step on it, you're gonna fall right on your face. So I haven't even gotten all my cutting stuff out yet. It's not really necessary, but I'm gonna use a floor tile cutter. You can use a circular saw, you can use a jigsaw, table saw. You don't have to have a floor tile cutter. People are all worked up about that. It's kind of hard to get those, find those. Okay, let's go run a couple of rows that way. So to move my mounter and balancer, I'm going to end up popping some of these tiles back off, which is going to, you can drive a forklift on these, but my forklift is a 3-wheel forklift and it tends to grab the tiles. If you just drive straight with a forklift, it's fine, or if you have a 4-wheel forklift, you're fine. It's when you get the tight turning radius, it creates problems. So you could float, you could kick and push like an entire floor. So I can do a pretty big section and have it still not be a problem to move around. So you see what we'll do is we can lay tiles in, and so we'll build the floor that way. So we're going to lay right on top of the pegs all the way across. You don't have to lift anything up. The black tiles, just like a black car, will show the most dirt. I don't like to set the tiles face down on the floor. You can, but just to keep it from any chance of getting scratched. So this floor was painted by the previous, or actually the owner, the previous tenant of the building. And you can see it's already all jacked up. You know, you pull cars in and out like 3 times and the cars are ruined. So we're going to cover up the paint. It's nice to do the floor, you know, cover up the floor paint rather than doing it right on concrete. It's going to look really nice because, you know, if you do look straight down through the tile, you're going to see how that's going to look a little better. Let's just finish this section here. Let's put our edge pieces in, and then we'll push the thing in place. And then we'll call everybody in here, and we'll just lay this whole thing out. 10 minutes. It's going to be you're going to be really excited. Be like, man, this is easy. Because before you do the cuts, then the cuts will take you a while. This room, we got all 4 walls to cut. We got an angle to work with over there. So just keep that in mind. Don't get too excited. You get really excited, think you're a newfound mechanical genius. But then all the hours go into the cutting. Now, you're supposed to leave a gap. You're supposed to leave 1/4 inch, forget what they say, how much of a gap you're supposed to leave between the wall and the Swisstrax. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to freaking cut it and ram it right up next to the wall. The reason you need to do that is for expansion contraction. This is an air-conditioned garage, so very rarely is this ever going to be opened up. And it really only swells if the sun is directly on it. Like next door in the afternoon, if I have the door open, the sun will shine right on the tiles and the whole floor will bow up. But that just rarely happens. In a perfect world also, you would do the baseboards after, so you could tuck the floor. I guess it makes it a little less permanent, but you could tuck or a little less, it makes it more permanent. But I've done it before where I did the tile up to the wall and then did the baseboards on top of that. I also make another piece called treadwear, which I have next door. The treadwear is something you would concrete anchor to the floor. Actually, I'm not going to need that piece there, am I? This is going to move. Got to be careful trying to make this somewhat square because it's not super critical, but the squarer I do it, the less stress will be on the joints of the floor. My cuts will work better, but the walls in here are probably not very straight. So see, I'm just kicking it up to the door with the door closed and locked. And then that sets our edge. And it's relatively precise. It's as precise as the room is. What I'm going to do is work that way and bring a black border in here. So I'm going to grab all the younger, more low to the ground people to come help me lay this thing out. And we'll have this thing laid out in minutes. And what we'll do is I'm going to have to hoist, probably put some edge pieces on, and we're going to hoist this sucker back up into the corner where it belongs. I'll set it once we get to here. All right, let's do it. Let me disrupt all workflow. We need an unboxer, we need a cutter, we need tile layers, we need stompers. Cutter. So black border is going to go 3 tiles in.
So right here, and then we're gonna just lay out what we can. We'll put the compressor, we'll put some edge pieces on, I'll slide the compressor back, because it'll slide on the tile. And then I'm gonna build around that, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pop out, once we figure out where the floor goes, I'm gonna pop out like as much tile as I need to get the forklift in here. We're gonna forklift that machine out. We're gonna forklift that machine out of the way. And I'm gonna take the tile and come back and build, and just kind of work, it's gonna be some putting together and taking apart. But for now, I just wanna lay out as much of the floor as possible. This is good market research. Product research. Just don't slide those on the floor upside down like that. Put them on a cardboard so we don't scratch the face. All right, let me try to rock this thing up on here. Yeah, or it'll just rock up on here. Once I get it on there, it'll slide. But I just have to rock it up over the pegs.
Would you all like group lift this thing? We're not doing any edge pieces.
I will, but we need to just at least get it on the tile so I can finish the floor. Now it looks good on the Swisstrax.
Yeah, like just looking at this area, like it already looks so much better in there.
Looks more. Come on. Real time in it. Why am I sweating? My air conditioner is supposed to cause no sweating.
Just put them down. Don't worry about stepping on them at the same time.
What? I wasn't.
This is the part where I'm always questioning. Kyle didn't order me enough tiles. Look at it, there's only 6 boxes left. He's like, no, we're good. This is when I'm questioning that you didn't order me enough tiles every time. So I want to, since this is like perfectly centered on the door, isn't it?
So we want to start.
So I want to do.
Here and do 3. You won't see it because you're putting lockers here. So it'll look.
Yeah, it really doesn't. We've learned the lesson. It really doesn't matter. I think we stay with 2. Yeah, I think that's good. 2 around there. Because those cabinets are 19 inches deep. That's 30 inches, so they'll come out to here. Yeah, let's stay with 2. Oh yeah, this is good. Daniel, this is your first on-the-job training.
Oh, I know, right? The best on-the-job training I've done so far.
Now when someone says, how do I do this, you'll know.
Come on, man.
Cut that out.
Shit.
Cut that part out.
Is this light enough that we can, like 3 people can push? So what I need to do is you need to get this out of the way, and if I can push it over to here without jacking up the floor.
Need some furniture movers.
Yeah. And then, what I can do is I'm going to pop out like a big section of this and just slide it back. Bring the forklift in, lift up that machine, and then put the tile under it. You're gonna just, we're just gonna, perfect. Swing it.
Can we power this off? Or
Yeah, unplug it. All right, close the door, Jeff, so you don't get sweated out of here. Perfect. Okay. Hey, get the tile, guys. Hey, can you guys grab a bunch of tile?
where are we? Taller back. So build out a section and slide it under.
I'm gonna get trapped here.
You are?
I can climb over. I'm just. Okay. It's worked out better than I thought it was gonna work out.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
I had it in my head, but what's in my head and the real world usually are two different things. This will be the last time the forklift enters in here, Ted. If I catch a forklift in here, I'm taking it from you. You're gonna have to take everything off the truck by hand. There you go. Yeah, now we're talking. Okay, let me get the grays. And black. Yeah. So let's put a couple more tiles underneath there. Bring me those grays, Jeff. We'll put those. All right, Ted. Bring it to Daddy.
Full speed, all the gas.
Nice and slow. Turn it toward. Straighten it out. Yep. Perfect. Give me a little turn, There you go. Oh, shift your forks a little bit to the right. Your left. All right. Turn a little more. Keep turning in toward the wall. Right there. I think that's good. All right, set it down. Let's see what it looks like. That's pretty good. All right, so let's build these Swisstrax Here. Ted, we're gonna probably have to pull some more tiles up because we need to pick this puppy up. Just go on the side and I can rock it up on it. So just stay right on the edge of this thing. Yeah, just tuck it in there and we can just rock it forward. Let's see. So hold it there. Let me just shift it. It does, but it's not easy. All right, come in now. Stop. Okay. Let me just get this back foot under here.
If you go all the way back down, you might be able to stick under the...
Let me just get this foot under here, and then we'll be good. Stuck on the lip. Yeah, back up a little bit. All right. Like cantilevering right on here. Just I'm holding on to just enough of it to keep from falling. See what happened? I put it too close to the wall, and when this thing kicks back, when the road force comes off, it smashed the wall. Yeah, there you go. Actually, Ted, let's do it. Let's just bring it in crooked, as close to the wall as possible, and then I only have to slide it a little bit, because right here I'm going to have to slide it back. Okay, we'll set her down right here. Can you shift the forks toward me? Perfect. All right, come on down. Okay, back up.
All the AC in.
Nice. Uh-oh.
Yeah, no, we're good.
Lift up all of it.
We should go look at it. Hang on.
I love it when a plan comes together.
You got it on the money, Kyle. There's no more black tiles.
Did you ever get new blades?
No.
Because last time I used it, it cut fine. It was all right.
You gotta lift up. Nice.
Oh, it's good. Yeah, it's perfect.
Yep.
All right, we have a floor.
That was even easier than I thought.
Yeah, now everyone pick a line.
Got one bad tile. All right, everyone, not too bad. What time is it? About 12 o'clock? When did we start this? About 8, 9 o'clock? Yeah, 9:30. So 10:30, 11:30. So, and we had a little meeting in between. So about 2 hours. So now we had, what, 15 people. But 15 people took 2 hours to get the floor floated and set in place. So now we have our edge pieces in place. It would have taken less time if I didn't have to move it for my, mounting and balancing machine, but that's done. And now we got through it with only maybe one tile with a little scrape on it, which is fine. And that's because it's underneath the mounter and balancer. So I'm gonna work on cutting some of this off camera, and then we'll come back and we'll do a cutting and finishing episode here coming up in a couple of days. All right, so I know I said the video was over, but here's a little bonus footage which just show you the completion of the garage. I only have 3 or 4 more cuts to do. I want to show you how to do this. So a couple of things to remember. These tiles are now over $7 a piece. They're what, 4 something a square foot. But these tiles are 1.7227 square feet per tile because they're 15 3/4 by 15 3/4, not 12 by 12. And so when you're making your cuts, now I'm using a full tile here, but I'll show you here in a second. This tile, I'm using the opposite end from the other side of the garage. But I ran out of, because this wall, I guess this wall is a little longer. I don't know why I don't have any extra tiles for this, but anyway, I needed like 3 more full tiles from use over there on the other side of the wall. So first thing you got to do, and this is where you can make mistakes, is you've got to figure out what's the orientation of the tile, and so which way is it going to clip in. And so notice I have pegs, and so I need to go loop, loop, and match that up. Kind of get your frame of reference correct. Now, another mistake you'll make, and I haven't made a single one of these this whole time, which is rare. Normally I'll measure on the wrong side of the tile. Actually, no, I did one. I did screw up one, but it was a cut tile anyway, where I measured on the wrong side. So I'm gonna measure, because my walls aren't straight, I'm gonna measure both ends of the tile. So this is 2.5. A little less, a little shade than 2.5. And I like to put it up tight next to the wall, even though the recommendation is that you don't do that. So just have a purple marker here, make a little mark at 2.5. Now, remember, I'm not measuring. You can make a mistake and go here and measure here and cut this way, and then you don't have the right end of the tile. So you have to go, I always put the tile up in the position it's gonna go and then measure on the back side. If you get in that rhythm, you won't mess it up. Yeah, so that was 2.5. This is 2.25 plus 1. 2.25 plus 1 line. I know you real men are gonna get real mad at me for doing that. So I've got a slight angle to my cut. And so now, I'm gonna go over here to my floor tile cutter. Now, don't get all excited. You don't need this thing. I mean, this is $600 or $700. I have it because, I'm always doing the floors, and sometimes people come and borrow it. It's also nice to have a nice Target knee pad for you. It's actually doing these angled cuts like this. I guess the floor tile cutter's a little quicker, but you would want to get yourself a speed square so that way you could draw your line, or actually get just use a level so you can draw your line. And then a table saw, we've done tons and tons of floors. Mike and I have done several of them with just a single circular saw and a razor blade. So you don't need the floor tile cutter, and chances are Home Depot won't have one to rent to you. But if you can get this is a carpet tile, really a carpet tile cutter. If you can get this, it does make it a little easier, but it's not necessary. So I could have made that cut with a circular saw. I could have made that cut with a table saw. Table saw is a little easier. Just go rent yourself a table saw. It's also nice to have a floor tile popper. This is made from my friend Sean up in Saskatchewan.
He makes them for us, ships them down to us. And so that way I can pick the tile in here and kind of get it in place and just kind of work with it. My baseboards are fresh and painted, so I don't want to, and I have it flush tight up next to the wall. And so I don't want to like, because the tile will come up to here and then push, and you take your foot and push down, it's going to scratch the baseboard. So I think that's the best way to do it. So when you get in the rhythm, you say, okay, which way does my tile go? Okay, it goes this way. You get my measurement here. That's 2.5 minus 2. 2.5 minus 2 lines. And then, see, this is really curved. That's 2.25 in the corner there. 2.25. I'm excited because this is the last few cuts I gotta make. Boom. My floor tile cutter needs a new blade. That's the other problem. I mean, that blade is like 200 something bucks to get. Nice. So I'm going to need to cut that little sliver. So let's switch to the other wall. And so I have these tiles. Just pull this here. So I have these tiles here that are already cut. And so they're from the opposite wall. So now I ought to be able to cut the other side. That way I don't have to waste another tile. And I can just throw the middle section away. So this should be correct. Is this right? Yeah. Yeah, because it's the same orientation. So I can use this tile. All right, so same thing here. Don't confuse yourself. Make sure you measure in the right spot. So that's 3. Remember, flip it around on the other side of the tile because we want this section. 3, 2 3/4. You can see if you have yourself if you have an assistant. I did the whole thing myself, but if you had an assistant, you could one cut and one measuring, depending on how much you trust your assistant to make one of those two things. Lift this up. So we have these in the store, by the way. You should. I would suggest you buy a couple of them because you'll probably lose one of them or you won't be able to find it. I put them in a bunch of drawers. Have it in multiple locations. That way I can get it when I need it. Check my orientation. Let me stay out of the way of the camera here. Last 2 cuts on a 1,200 square foot floor is rewarding. That's 2 3/4. You could always just remember what your last dimension was there. And that's 2 3/4 minus 1. After we make these 2 cuts, we'll shaky hand cam and walk you around the room and talk you about, show you all the different problem areas that we had to, and what we did about it. Make a good line there, I can't see it. So now I gotta waste the whole tile to get that one spot. This sucker under here. Got one last piece to do. So you see what I did here, this corner. Normally, I would cut this off and put a piece. I think it's fine. I'll just leave it like that. It's such a big floor that you're not gonna nitpick. I have this one over the edge, and then that side I have a piece cut there, but I'm gonna call it good. All right, so let's cut that little corner off there in the end. See if I have a piece that'll work for that. Okay, found an old small piece. So let's go. Let's cut one length first. 2 1/4. So if I cut it this way, 2 1/4. So I need this piece, and then that's going to be 3 -1 this way. All right, so I'm going to cut it long ways and then. Last piece. It's always fun when the last piece is this little thing here right here. I'm telling you, the target pad, the target knee pad is clutch, especially when you're a few hours in.
Coming soon. Just garage store.
Target knee pad. Boom. That's our floor. I was 6 tiles short, Kyle. That's why I always tell them, overestimate by 10. And I didn't mess up any tiles, so if I was new to this, I would have messed some up. Moving fast, Dad, over here. All right, so nothing spectacular here, just needing to, to account for the wall, so you just measure on each side of it so that way you can account for it. See our edge piece? I cut this edge piece up here. Another mistake we made is the floor shifted a bit, so you can see my edge. It's too late. But the floor, from us laying it out, we kicked it up against the door. The door might also be a little wonky too, so I should have checked that out, but it's too late now, so we're good to go. Another spot that took a little bit of time, if you'll notice the entry door here. Let me give you some light. So you can see I had to cut and just measure and cut the pieces to kind of work around the wonkiness of this curve. And this is the best floor I've ever done. The more floors you do, the better you get at it. And you kind of work down the corner. This was all pretty simple other than tiny little piece. So remember, when I cut this brand new piece, I saved it because then I could use it on the opposing wall. And so that saves you a bunch of money, a bunch of tiles. But I also had to, kind of dark, we had to cut around here. And so this one, there's a joint right here. And so I had to cut an L shape and an L shape, and then cut a little tiny little section for the corner. And then the other weird spot was the door. And I decided, even though it doesn't fit completely in there, if you take a look at my edge here, I cut the tile right at the 45. And so if you look at a tile, the piece here, they have these little ribs or lines that run across the ribs. And so I cut it exactly at a 45. And so that made it, just because of where from coming off the doors, the big doors, the garage doors. So I do have a slight little gap, but I think that edge looks cleaner, and then we're gonna put some carpet tile, and we'll probably put some sort of T-molding or something like that on there to cover that up. We move the desk. We'll find out if my balancer, somebody brought up a good point, I should probably apologize, and that I don't understand why this wouldn't work on this floor versus the concrete floor. Maybe it doesn't. A couple of people have said, I put Swisstrax underneath at my shop, and then the balancer wasn't balancing correctly, so I may end up having to cut that out. But I was climbing around the back here. The hardest piece in the whole place was this one, because this beam here is real wonky. And then there's like a little 1/4-inch strip around the side. So that was the one time I got the jigsaw out in order to cut that. But we have complete Swisstrax contiguous underneath all the equipment all the way back. And so now my next step will be to put my cabinets in. So
that's a wrap. So sorry to you watching this video now, pricing just went up 11% across the board. I think you're going to continue to see that on all products, but it is really helpful to me if you buy it from us. It doesn't help me if you buy it direct from Swisstrax or somewhere else. So if you're feeling inclined to honor the source, I do appreciate that. We do sell it at we eat the shipping cost, which is substantial, and we sell it, our everyday pricing is what like the Swisstrax deal would be, which is generally 20% off MSRP. So or 15 or 20% off. We're always going to give you the best price we can get. So anyway, thanks for watching. Appreciate your support. I know some of you that have never had this flooring aren't in love with it, don't love the idea. I don't love the idea, but it must work as I keep doing it over and over and over again. Short of you doing some really, really high-end porcelain tile, and even then, all your dirt and dust blows to the back of your garage and you're having to sweep it out all the darn time. I think this is the best option. So I highly encourage you to consider it for your garage. Epoxy is not a good thing, and neither is floor paint. I know some of you love it, but I don't know. I'm not into mopping my floor every day. So anyway, talk to you soon. Thanks for watching.